Now, a couple of days ago, I made a tweet about the new Master Yi, calling him broken, and some people thought I meant he was overpowered. Now, this is just my opinion, but broken and overpowered aren't synonymous. When I say broken, I mean something about the champion or the entire kit has some issue that causes the character to be skewed or completely, let's just say, inexcusable. I'll explain in a little bit. Master Yi definitely is on the stronger side right now, but for the wrong reasons. I mean, I spend most of the time as Master Yi just mashing Q now. I mean, APE, it did that before, but ADE didn't. Now, they pretty much married APE with ADE and combined the factors and gave him some little tweaks on his abilities, and now he does a whole lot of damage no matter what you do. And there's a problem though. In some of the team fights, I literally just mashed Q. I didn't really bother auto-attacking anybody except maybe the last guy who I stabbed in the back of their neck. That's about it. And I just felt this isn't how I think Master Yi should be played. I mean, you argue all you want, but Master Yi, I always felt he should be an actual kind of fighter guy, cut someone down, whatever. He sure can do that right now, but more than often, just spamming your Alpha Strike at the right times seems to be the better course of action. And holy crap, Alpha Strike. I played APE mid lane for the first time ever because it was some kind of fight between the players and the queue. And they made me be mid even though I wanted to be jungle. So I play APE mid. I mean, not APE, I just play ADE mid now. And I don't know what to start off with. I don't even know the runes or masteries, anything. I just wing it. And I don't do so well early game either. I'm 0-2-2. I mean, I'm farming because you have to be stupid to fail to farm with Master Yi. And I did do some harassing, but I got engaged in some fights that I couldn't win. Come first team fight where I'm involved, the enemy team is positioned awkwardly but not completely terrible. One of them takes some poke, and I see that as my chance. Alpha Strike, it crits, kills the person, and I just mash Alpha Strike just like a madman. I mash it and I kill another one, and then I kill the third one with another Alpha Strike. I'm like, this felt stupid. I felt like I shouldn't have done that. I mean, I know APE does that after a lot of items, but the whole fact that at least the last guy could finish him off by stabbing him after I had Alpha Strike him to hell for a lot of damage, felt I did a little too much. I mean, yeah, I know Morello said he doesn't use too much in high levels. Well, according to my friends who are Challenger and Diamond, he apparently is banned or picked. But not because he's so blatantly overpowered and unstoppable, but he's so anti-fun and he can somehow still win a game regardless of how badly he's doing or how good you're doing. They described it best as that he takes one little mistake or one little opening and somehow snowballs out of control with that. And that's a motorcycle, so ignore it. Anyways, think of it as cherry picking. There we go. It's basically cherry picking. You see one guy get low, you Alpha Strike, you clip him, he dies. You Alpha Strike again, and maybe somebody else got low. We'd be doing the 2 Alpha Strikes of your team, or the whole team fight chaos. You clip him, he dies too. Then you just go to town on the enemy team. That's a little too fucking extreme. I mean, sure, there are champions that do a lot of damage, given resets and whatever, but Master Yi's is a little too damn unfair. They shifted the resetting powers from the ultimate onto the Q, and then they tacked on some auto attack, diminishing of the cooldown factor into it. So Q's cooldown is essentially non-existent in most team fights, and I feel that's going to need to be toned down. Why is this a problem? There's really no counter for it. That's why some people will say, oh, you could just stun Master Yi and you stop him. See, there's a problem with that. There's always a problem with these counters that people bring up. 3 problems, in fact. 1, you have to be able to actually know how to do it, for starters. Number 2, even if you know how to do it, it may not actually be possible to do it at that time. Maybe you pick Tarek to stop Master Yi, but he killed a teammate that was far away from you, or he outstriked as you were about to stun him, and he got out of it, or he seems to be waiting for your fucking stun. The rest of your team starts bashing your team's brains in because you can't use your stun on anybody else, because the second you do it, he's gonna come right in and kill them. And the third one is, after a certain point, it's not even feasible anymore. It's like after Master Yi's gotten, let's say, 2 pentas, you think your fucking stun's gonna stop him now? Yeah, that's kind of the problem, and that's the problem with certain champions too. Hyper carries, I would say. They made Master Yi into a really, really fast hyper carry. I mean, if you saw the video I was talking about, I felt he became more gold efficient, more reliable, and overall just more usable. But he didn't nerf any of his hyper carry status, and in fact made it better, and they made it easier to achieve. I mean, now he can achieve it just by pure accident of getting a couple alpha strikes in a team fight and essentially stealing some kills. Yeah. So they're gonna need to tone it down, and they already acknowledge that they are going to. As far as anyone saying, oh, he's not competitively viable, that's one of the stupidest things I've ever heard. Say the same fucking thing about APE. He's just a noob stomper. Nobody uses him in tournament play. Then he gets used in tournament play, and he stomps tournament play. And then they nerf him because of that. And apparently some people say the rework, the whole removal of the AP factor of it, even though they somehow still kept it with AD, was a result of APE being too stupid and hard to balance for competitive play. So ADE, no, you can't say, he's not good at tournament play or anything. They haven't actually used him yet, and we have to fucking give it some time. So who knows, we might be surprised, we might realize he sucks, but they're gonna be the ones to test it out. Where everybody doubted a lot of fucking things, even I doubted a lot of fucking things, and I admit that I admitted them eventually. Just give it some time. As far as balancing other champions out, I'm pretty sure Riot has adopted the new stance of, we're not gonna buff anybody or change anybody majorly that isn't needing one right now. Like, they're probably not gonna buff or change Heimerdinger until season 4. They're not gonna buff Shyvana any further. They're not gonna make any drastic changes. I mean, we all saw Shyvana's buffs in the PvE. There were plenty and they were dramatic. Then she came out, and it was a lot less than what we thought it would be. And in fact, it didn't make a fucking difference. She's still pretty much the same damn thing. So why is Riot not gonna do it? Why do you feel Riot's not gonna do anything? If you remember Season 1, during Season 1, Shaco was stupid as fuck, right? And then they slowly nerfed him throughout all the fucking bugs and everything he had. Every single time they nerfed him, he became unused. Then they found some stupid trick that worked with him, and he became overused again. I mean, after they nerfed him the first time, nobody used him. Then people figured out he can stack auras or sunfire capes with his clone, and he became used again. Then they nerfed that crap, and they found Stark's Fervor still worked, and he just kept coming back and forth. So they nerfed him to oblivion for Season 1. Season 2 comes out, and they figure out some tricks with him, like the double buffs at very low time, that whole trick, and he becomes super fucking annoying to deal with again. Then they nerf the shit out of that. Then they still figure out some way to make him really good, and they nerf that even more. And they figured out AP Shaco is actually good and annoying. Then they nerfed the shit out of that. So they didn't buff him pretty much throughout the entire fucking course. So why did he keep coming back? It's because indirect changes. That happens to a lot of champions. Vladimir, for example, that happened to him when they added Hextech Revolver. He was before that time he was overly nerfed. Then Hextech Revolver comes in. Holy crap! You can stack the shit out of this, and then just spam all your abilities and heal for 1 billion. Happens to a lot of champions. These are the champions that tend to be toxic. Master Yi, Tryndamere, sorry for that noise. Master Yi, Tryndamere, Nidalee, even Teemo counts as one of these. So what can you do about these? You just kind of have to wait and see, especially by the end of the season. And I think Shyvana, I mean, she's never really been overly a problem. I mean, when it comes to balancing, except, indirect changes. So I think Riot's just gonna wait for season 4 to see if the changes they have in store for us, which they say will affect jungling and laning and all that stuff, if they do anything to her. And I think if nothing happens, they'll probably fix her up a little bit, and if she becomes strong again, they'll just leave her as that. This is what some people need to realize. Some champions are not bad, and some champions do not need buffs. And I mean, some champions need tweaks for sure, but they don't need massive changes. It's sometimes a little overkill, which is why I felt Shyvana shouldn't have really been buffed. I mean, her buff didn't do shit, and she's good at what she does, as much as I don't like using her anymore. She's good at what she does, which is invading and farming the jungle and being all zippity zoop throughout the whole map. But that crap isn't what's useful right now. So if it became useful again, then maybe she'll see the light of day again. And that goes for a lot of champions. Some champions have things that need to be looked at, some champions don't. Skarner, his E does need to be changed, but I think he's pretty fucking strong, though kind of toxic in the way that he's spammable with his slow. Dr. Mundo needs no changes. He's really fucking good at what he does. I mean, they buffed him up in season 2, and it was funny. They were actually considering a massive rework for Mundo. Then they realized, let's just make him not murder himself with his W. And it turns out that was all he kind of needed in order to be able to jungle again. They go a little overboard with things. Remember Nunu? Nunu is one of the most early examples. Well, I said a while ago that the change to Nunu will not do anything. And people misinterpret that as me saying it's not going to make him, oh my god, unstoppable. What I meant by won't do anything, and I meant this in this consume is, the 600 damage on this consume, is that he's actually a really strong invader already. So this is just kind of overkill. It's not going to change what he does. He's still fucking Nunu, and he's still annoying. What I think mattered more was though the cooldown reduction on some of his abilities. But yeah, my point is, certain champions don't need buffs, some champions don't need nerfs. It's just just because something is underused doesn't mean something's bad, and it's better to wait and see if indirect changes to the game will resuscitate certain champions or bury them, or make sure they're buried. I mean, would you say Shyvana is bad? Some of you will say yeah, and some of you will say no. It's more to say that she's not as usable right now. I mean, there could definitely be a situation where she, be probably the best pick, but those situations currently would be a very minimal. Trundle, same situation as her. There's some times where she could be really good, and sometimes where he could be really good, and sometimes he can really be bad. But and as far as the meta goes right now, those situations that favor him are very rare. And even I have to admit that, as much as I enjoy the troll. And so on and so forth. The only champions that I would say require any changes are those champions with antiquated kits, such as Warwick, Sion, and Zillion too, and Gangplank. Their kits just kind of suck. More often than not, and I have to admit, Warwick is one of my old classic champions, but he really does need tweaks. Sion is a fucking mess. Zillion's just old kit. And Gangplank, his kit never fucking made sense, and Ryan knew that from the very start. So his numbers were stupid when they reworked him, so that's why he was overpowered. So now he kind of needs a massive overhaul. Well, not massive. I think he just needs to be looked at. Probably his E and his Q really need to be fixed up somehow.